That's where Chip Reed takes us this morning to visit a new monument and listen to its voices in the wind.
In a field amid the rolling hills of central Pennsylvania stands the Tower of Voices. 93 feet tall, it honors the heroes of Flight 93. It will be dedicated later today, the last piece of this 2,200-acre memorial that includes the crash site known as the Sacred Ground, a visitor center that tells the story of Flight 93 and the Wall of Names built directly under the flight path. The tower, still a work in progress, holds 8 wind chimes, but soon there will be 40, one for each passenger and crew member who died here on September 11, 2001. When completed, the chimes are expected to sound like this. Paul Murdoch is the architect of the Flight 93 National Memorial.
When people visit the Tower of Voices and they hear those chimes, what do you want them to feel or to think?
The first thing I want them to do is feel.
Feel?
Whatever they feel. The tower itself is quite heroic. It's a monumental piece. It's meant to be heroic. But the sounds are not booming chimes. They're meant to be actually quite subtle and intimate, so that people can be there and have a very personal experience, and whatever that is for them.
This part of Pennsylvania is known for its windmills.
There's a lot of wind in this area, and that's part of why we thought of the wind chime tower.
But there's another reason. The 40 chimes, he says, symbolize the voices of the 40 passengers and crew members, many of whom called their loved ones after the plane was hijacked. Some were only able to leave heartbreaking voicemails.
Hi, baby. You have to listen to me carefully. I'm on a plane that's been hijacked. Please tell my children that I love them very much. I hope to be able to see your face again, baby. Bye.
But others calling from Flight 93 got through.
A stunning and cowardly strike on the United States.
And learned that 3 planes that morning had already been flown into the World Trade Center in New York and the Pentagon. They quickly realized that their plane was being used in a terrorist attack. The passengers and crew debated what to do. They voted on a plan, and they decided to fight back. They stormed the cockpit, and after a struggle, the plane crashed near Shanksville, Pennsylvania, killing all on board. It was later determined that the hijackers' target was probably the U.S. Capitol.
There's clearly a sense of satisfaction.
Gordon Felt is president of the families of Flight 93. His older brother, Ed Felt, was a passenger.
We don't look at the 40 passengers and crews as victims. We look at them as heroes. Obviously, they wanted to live, but they also knew that in order to try to survive, they had to fight. And in doing so, they lost their lives, but they averted a far greater tragedy that would have been inflicted on our country.
If you were asked in one sentence to say, what is the purpose of this memorial, what would it be?
To remember. To remember September 11th, the sacrifices of all of the heroes that were present that day. Because really, they represent us all. They could have been any one of us that morning. Most importantly, when visitors walk away, I hope that they take with them a question. If it was me, could I have done what they did?
Paul Murdoch says he hopes this landscape that is both pastoral and rugged will keep people coming here to remember for generations to come.
There's a serenity here to allow people to reflect, to be contemplative. And there's a severity to remind people of what actually happened here. This is a battleground on the one hand, but it's also a final resting place of these 40 people.